See, what we'll do is we'll start on with our topic on meetings. Okay, we'll quickly go through what is the requirements of this topic, and then we'll look at a very comprehensive illustration in this, which will give us a clear idea of what is required from this topic. See, when we talk about this topic, right, the basic focus of this topic is on three areas. One is that how to draft an agenda of a meeting, how to draft minutes of a meeting, and how to draft action taken report. Here our focus is only on formal meetings. See, the meetings could be of two types. It could be an informal meeting between, let's say, friends and relatives. It could be a formal meeting. Formal meeting is usually at a business or an organization level. Right, at an organization level also the meeting could be divided into two parts. One, which is the organizational level meeting, means meeting between the management or the shareholders of the company will be treated as organizational meeting, and operational meetings. See, these operational meetings are between the functional areas in the organization, like let's say sales debrief is there, or maybe meeting between various departments of the organization. Maybe there's a new product launch, maybe there's a great competitor who is coming in the market. We need to decide on strategy, how to overcome that particular competitor, right? So meeting within the organization between the participants, right, will be treated as a formal meeting. Or a formal meeting could be maybe certain representatives of a company meeting certain outsiders, could also be treated as formal meeting. Now, from the exam perspective, what is the scope of this topic? In the exams, they may ask us to draft either of the three. They can either ask us to draft agenda of a meeting, or they could ask us to draft minutes of a meeting, or they could ask us to draft the action taken report. Now, the basic prerequisite of drafting any of these is basically your English should be correct, in the sense that there should not be any spelling mistakes, grammatically, and the construction of your sentence should be correct. That is the first prerequisite. And then second, see, there could be a variety of topics which could be asked in the exam, right? So you need to put yourself into the shoes of the person who is either calling the meeting or who is responsible for, let's say, drafting the agenda of the meeting, or maybe minutes of the meeting, or maybe the action taken report, right? So you need to put yourself into the shoes of the person who is basically responsible for drafting either of these, and you need to imagine that what discussions could take place in a meeting like this, and then you need to cover those points. We'll first quickly have a look at the format, and then we'll go to certain illustrations which will help us identify, right, how do we basically construct the agenda, minutes, and the action taken report, right? So hope all of you are good to go, right? So let us first look at the format of the agenda. See, what is the agenda? Agenda is basically sent before. See, whenever there is a meeting, you need to send the notice of a meeting. What is the notice of a meeting? It is basically informing the intended participants, right? What is a notice? It is basically informing the intended participants of the meeting that a meeting has been scheduled at a particular day, on a particular time, at a particular venue. So that will give the information about when the meeting is taking place. It will also talk about the subject matter of the meeting as to why this particular meeting has been called. And one of the most important part of the notice is the agenda. Basically, agenda is the list of things. Listen to this very carefully. Agenda is the list of things which are to be taken up and discussed at the meeting. Why is agenda important, and why is it required to be sent before the meeting? Because the intended participants, the people who will attend the meeting, will know well in advance that what is the matter which will be taken up in the meeting, and they can prepare themselves, they can do their homework, right, in relation to the discussions which are to be made there. For example, Let's say the meeting is to discuss the performance of a particular product in the last quarter. So whoever is responsible for presenting that particular information, right, will be able to prepare his presentation, will be able to collate the data, right, and make it available at the time of the meeting. But if you suddenly tell someone that we want to see the performance of a particular product in the last quarter, maybe he is not ready with all the details, or even if the details are available, right, he may not be able to present it as well, right? If he's been informed in advance, he'll be able to collate all the data properly and put it into a presentable fashion so that everybody could meaningfully understand that particular information, right? So agenda is essential for people to know what is to be taken up or what is to be discussed in the meeting. See, in our scope, we'll take up a tabular agenda. See, what is a tabular agenda? Tabular agenda, I'll take you to the format, right? Quickly have a look at the document which I have shared with you. See, the agenda will first start with the date of the meeting, right? What is this? This is basically the date of the meeting. You need to write the date of the meeting here. And this venue is again the venue of the meeting, the place at which the meeting is supposed to take place. Then you need to have 5 columns in this particular format of agenda. The first column is the time. See, this time slot will talk about time allotted to various speakers. When will the meeting start, right? What point will be discussed at what point in time, and when will the meeting end? It will cover up the topics which are supposed to be discussed in the meeting. It will also talk about who all are supposed to attend the meeting, so that people who are attending the meeting know well in advance that whom they are supposed to face in the meeting. Then who will speak on what particular topic will also be mentioned, and the duration which is available to the speaker is also available. See, in the corporate scenario, time is one of the most precious thing, right? You cannot have hours and hours to present something to the audience, right? You need to be crisp, you need to be concise. So they will provide you an inductive time limit, right? You are supposed to speak for 10 minutes. So what all you need to say, you need to present it effectively in that span of 10 minutes. So this is how the format of agenda will go. Now we'll talk about minutes of the meeting. See, what is minutes of the meeting? Minutes of the meeting is the summary of the meeting, right? What happens when, let's say, people meet and discuss certain thing, right? It is an oral form of communication, right? It is an oral form of communication, right? Normally in a meeting, certain issue will be discussed and the way forward or the resolution in relation to that issue will be discussed. Similarly, there will be certain responsibilities which will be allocated to different people, and there will be certain actions which will require to be taken after the meeting is concluded, right? So you need to have it documented in writing so that it could work for future reference, that a certain meeting took place on certain date, certain time, etc. And these were the matters which were discussed in the meeting, and who was responsible, who said what, and who is responsible for future action will also be documented in this. So what is minutes of the meeting? In the most simple sense, it is the summary, right? It is the summary of the matters which were discussed in the meeting, right? What is the advantage of preparing minutes of the meeting? That the most common advantage is that it will work as a future record of a meeting which took place. Second, it will help to establish and identify accountability and responsibilities of people who were part of that particular meeting. Now let us have a look at the format of the minutes of the meeting. See, the format will start with the date. This is again date of the meeting. The date on which the meeting took place. Again, this is the venue at which the meeting was conducted, right? Meeting started at, so what time did the meeting start at that particular day, and who were in attendance, right? So it talks about people present in the meeting, right? Who were the people who were present in the meeting? Now we'll talk about the second part, right? This is the first section in the minutes of the meeting. The second section in the minutes of the meeting is the main content. See, now the main content will depend upon what is the topic which has been given to you in the exam, right? There could be variety of topic, and based on that particular topic you need to imagine or you need to visualize what conversations or what discussions would have taken place in that meeting, and based on that you need to create this particular section. And there are certain common end points, right? You need to remember this. There are certain common end points which are there, right, which is generally used to conclude the minutes of the meeting, right? Maybe there was a plan of action which was discussed, right? So you could say that all the participants let's say consented to the plan, so everybody agreed with the plan, right? The chairperson, right? The chair, who is the chairperson? Chairperson is generally the senior most person who is present in the meeting, and he is made responsible for orderly conduct of the meeting, right? So he'll be somebody who will moderate the meeting. So the chairperson gave a vote of thanks, right, to all the participants, right, and then decided the date of the next meeting if required, that we need to have a follow-up meeting on this particular topic. You could say that the date of the next meeting was discussed. And finally, you should say that the action taken report is to be submitted on this particular date. So maybe in the meeting itself, right, in the meeting itself, they would say that after, let's say, 7 days or after 10 days or after 15 days, right, the action taken report need to be submitted. Now let's come to the format of action taken report. We'll also understand that what do we mean by action taken report. See, basically, as the name suggests, action taken, right? What do we mean by action taken? What work was done, right, after the meeting took place? So maybe in the meeting, right, I'll give you a small example. Maybe in the meeting it was decided that the company will recruit, let's say, 10 junior level staff, 10 mid-level staff and 15 senior level staff, right? And what will be the criteria of selection, etc. was discussed. And then they decided that after 10 days, the action taken report should be submitted. So what is this action taken report, right? The action which was required and agreed to be taken in that particular meeting, what further work has been done on those particular area will be documented in the action taken report. So maybe you will say that out of 10 junior level staff, you have identified and recruited 7 junior level staff. Out of 10 mid-level staff, the interview process is still on. Only 2 people have been recruited till date. Rest, the interview is in process. Maybe for senior level people, 5 have been recruited, and for 10 the work is still on. So that is the action taken, right? What has been done and what is required to be done or what is pending, right? So how will it start? This you need to remember, right? This you need to remember, because this is how all the action taken report should start. It says, as per meeting held on, so that is the date of the meeting, right, in which you discussed on these areas. On this, that at a particular place, the following actions have been reported. See, this action taken report is generally prepared, let's say 7 to 15 days after the date of the meeting, so that it's sufficient time for the action to take place. So whatever is the actual scenario, right, let's say we can say 5 people at junior level recruited, 2 people at mid-level recruited, 5 at this recruited, and whatever other, let's say, outcome is there, you need to document. Then you need to put the name. This name is the name of the person who prepares the ATR, right? Somebody who is responsible to prepare the ATR, his name will be there, right? This person's designation will be there, and the date of action taken report, right? This is the date of the action taken report, the date on which the action taken report has been prepared and submitted, right, will be put in here. So by this we are done with the formats of agenda, format of the minutes of the meeting, and format of action taken report. See, this is very simple. right, in exam, right, you can expect a 5-mark question, right, which may ask you either to prepare an agenda or maybe the minutes of the meeting or maybe the action taken report. So it's basically your imagination, right, your imagination of what should be discussed at the meeting if it is the agenda, what discussions took place at the meeting if it is the minutes of the meeting, and what action should have emanated, right, after the meeting was over, right, within the period of time, then that is your action taken report, right. So hope all of you have understood the formats and the meaning and the purpose for which all of these reports are prepared. Quickly show a thumbs up in the chat so that I get to know that everybody is following and everybody have understood this. If there is a question, right, you could type it and send it in the chat so that I can get back to you, right. Quickly guys, submit your thumbs up, and if there is a question, quickly ask your question. Right, so all the thumbs up are coming up at great speed. Everyone should participate, right. Everybody should respond in the chat. It's a request from my side that each one of you who is attending this session should send a thumbs up. Now, great. So see, now we'll go through this very comprehensive illustration, right. By taking this particular scenario, right, we will prepare the agenda of this particular scenario. We'll also prepare the minutes of the meeting of this particular scenario, and then we will also prepare the action taken report for this particular scenario, so that you know that how things flow, right. And by doing this, let's say, illustration, right, I am absolutely confident that you will be well equipped to, let's say, take up any scenario which comes up in the exam, right. Please read this along with me. Always remember, see, for any subject, for any paper, you need to remember this, that even if you are going short of time, you should not try to save time by reading the question very quickly or going very fast on the question. If you understand the question well, you would be able to write the answer quickly. But if you misunderstand the requirements of the question, there's a very high probability that you may go wrong. So always remember this, right? Whenever in any exam, that you should not increase the speed of reading the question. Interpreting a question is one of the most important element, right, of answering it correctly. So if you want to increase your speed, start maybe increasing your writing speed, maybe the speed at which you think and you draft your answer, right, you can work upon that. But when you're reading, okay, your reading speed can increase, but not at the cost of losing on interpreting the particular requirement, right. When you are reading the question, right, read it with full focus so that on the first attempt itself, you get the main requirement from this question. So let us go through this illustration together. Right, let's read it together. And then I'll ask you for some fillers, right, as to what should have been discussed in this particular meeting and how should we go about it, right? So, a meeting is to be presided by the chairman of HKU Private Limited. So this is the name of the company. It is a FMCG company. FMCG is basically fast moving consumer goods. So all the cosmetic, right, soaps, shampoo, and then food items, right, which are very fast moving, fast consumption items. The main agenda of the meeting was introduction of a new product, right? So they are introducing a new product. So maybe you may, let's say, consider a new soap is getting introduced, or maybe a new detergent powder is getting introduced, or maybe, let's say, a new shampoo is getting introduced, or maybe some, let's say, Lay's is introducing a new flavor of their chips, right? Whatever it could be. So you need to discuss about the introduction of a new product. So see, these points are very important because your answer, right, when you draft your answer to this, it should include these elements, right? You should talk about introduction of a new product. Then you should also include in your answer about the cost structure, fixing of a cost. Then you have to discuss the sales and marketing and advertising strategy for this particular product. So the scenario in front of us talks about a scenario where a new product is being introduced by an FMCG company, right? You need to talk about the new product, you need to fix cost of that particular new product, and you need to discuss the sales, marketing and advertising strategy for this particular product, right? So what you should do, maybe you put yourself into the shoes of the CEO or the managing director of that particular company or the owner of that company, and if you are conducting this particular meeting, right, if you are conducting this particular meeting, what things you would discuss in that meeting, right, should form part of your answer, right? Speakers involved, so they have given you the inductive list of speakers as well. The speaker would involve the chairperson, so basically he might be the CEO or the managing director of the company. The product head, who is the product head? Product head is a person who is responsible for designing and developing of that product, so he looks into the manufacturing side of the product. Then it would involve the marketing head. It would involve the sales head. See, what is the difference between the marketing head and the sales head? Marketing head is somebody who is responsible for advertising the product, right? Market the product. Sales head is somebody who would basically connect with the customers, right, and try to sell the product in the market. So marketing head is more at a strategy level, whereas the sales head is basically at the execution level, where he needs to connect to the customers and execute the plan which the marketing team has put forth. Then you have a creative director as well, right? So who is a creative director? Creative means somebody who is responsible for, let's say, designing the graphics for the advertisement, maybe designing the packaging of the product, how the product will look like, because packaging is one of the most important part of selling or placing a particular product in the market. How would the ad creatives be? Maybe the print creatives, maybe the video creatives, maybe the digital creatives, right? So this is basically the work at hand. What are we supposed to do now, right? Have a look at what are we supposed to do now. We are supposed to first draft the agenda of the meeting. Then we need to do minutes of the meeting. And then we need to do the action taken report. So if we do all the three things together, it will give us a great idea and insight into how these reports actually flow. Now, what I want each one of you to do and put in the chat is that what is your perception of what the agenda should be, right? If you are launching a new product, right, and you need to discuss about the launch, you need to discuss about the cost structure, you need to discuss about, let's say, the advertising strategy, sales strategy for this product, right? And you know who are the participants, right? Just put in the chat that what discussion should generally take place in this type of meeting, right? What should be the, let's say, the agenda. Let's first talk about the agenda, right? What discussion should be made, right, in this particular meeting? Quickly put into the chat so that I can get your perspective, right? Just pointers, right? How to put it in the format we will see as we move ahead, but what points should be discussed in such a meeting, right? Quickly put it into the chat so that I am able to know your perspective about it, right? If you get this topic, right, if you have to write an agenda for this, maybe it's your own company, you're launching a new product and you need to discuss this in the meeting with your team, right? What things should be there in the agenda? Quickly put this in. Right, so Nandini is saying how to advertise the product. Very good. See, you will get clues from the topic itself, right? Because if they are saying that you need to fix the marketing and advertising strategy. One of the essential ingredients of the agenda would definitely be that how would you market this particular product, right? What else? The media to be used for marketing such as print. Okay, so he's saying that there are various modes in which a particular advertisement campaign would run. So what mix of marketing you are trying to choose? Then comparison of the product with other similar products. Okay. Then fixing the price of the product, right? So at what price the product should be launched in the market. Then discuss about the product having a huge scope of growth. Okay. Introduction of a new product and related discussions. Price and the place info. Product quantity and the minimum cost at which it should be there. Okay, very good. Target audience, right? So very good. When you are launching a new product, right, whom are you directing this product to is very important. Then there is capital requirement. Okay. How to cut cost and give better service. What is the difference that makes it better than the other competing product? Fixing prices, discount offer, right? So these are the common things which would generally come in our mind, right, when we talk about introduction of a new product. See, in a sequential manner, if I talk about, right, first the product will be introduced to the group in the meeting, said that this is the new product which we are launching. How is it different from our competitors? What are the new features of this particular product, right? What innovation has been put forth in designing and let's say manufacturing this particular product? Then it will talk about that what is the tentative cost structure. See, the product has not been made as yet, right? They are trying to launch a new product. So they may talk about the estimated cost of this particular product, right? What price similar products are selling in the market? So what entry price should the company fix? Right? How the marketing of this product should be done, right? What mix of marketing should be used, right? What should be the method of selling this product, right? Would the company open its own stores, or maybe there's a franchisee model, or maybe there's a direct selling model, or maybe there will be mega dealers, distributors which will be appointed. So there are the various ways in which the product could reach the market, right? So what particular way are you choosing? What is your target audience, right? What is your advertising strategy? How would your creatives look like, right? So all these important topics will be discussed in this particular meeting. Now, let us have a look at the answer, right? We'll first talk about the agenda of this meeting, right? Everybody please have a close look at this. See, how we'll start with this is that whatever is the name of the company, you will put it at the top. If in the exam the name of the company is not given, you could assume, you could say ABC Limited or whatever name of your choice you could put. Now we'll say agenda. We'll put in a date, right? Can somebody please tell me what is this date? Is this the date of the agenda? Quickly respond. Is this the date of the agenda? It says 10th of September X1. Is this the date of the agenda or the date on which the agenda is circulated? Or is this the date of the meeting? Very good. So it says it is the date of the meeting. Very good. Please remember that the date which you put on the agenda is the date of the meeting. Then you need to put the venue where the meeting is supposed to take place. You could say at the corporate office, but now these corporate offices have very fancy names to their meeting rooms, right? So we have put in the name Oak Meeting Room, right? Maybe in the COVID scenario, right, there's a lockdown, the office is not operating, right? So you don't do it at one place, there will be different participants. But these participants are joining in from their homes or different locations, right? So you could also say Zoom, right? There are some participants who are joining through the Zoom meeting as well. You could write both of these, or you could write either. You could either say Oak Meeting Room, or maybe you could say through Zoom meeting. Now, as you've already seen the format, right? The tabular agenda will have 5 columns. Please remember, the first column will be the time. The second column will be the topic. The third column will be the attendees, means the people who are supposed to attend this meeting. And the fourth column is the speaker, right, who is responsible to speak on what. And the fifth section will be the duration or the time which has been allotted. Right, the duration or the time which has been allotted, right, to each speaker. See how it will start. Please remember, in all the agendas that you do, you can choose any time of your choice, right? But please make it be reasonable. Don't say that we started our meeting at 2 in the morning, right? Make it a reasonable time. Maybe in this case we have said that we started the meeting at 3:30, let's say 9:30 a.m. This will be there in almost all circumstances. Please remember, obviously first whenever you are starting off a meeting, right, you will maybe do a small introduction to the participants, right? You would say the chairperson will be responsible to do it, right? So who will attend this particular thing? All the participants will be addressed. Who will address it? Chairperson. You can use any name of your choice. Right, the chairperson, he'll give a brief introduction of the purpose, right? So he would say that I welcome you all to this meeting, right? The purpose of this meeting is to discuss about the launch of a new product, right? So basically a small introduction will be given, right, for the agenda. So this will take maybe 5 minutes. Then you need to be very careful in, let's say, running the time thing, right? So at 9:30 the meeting started. It took 5 minutes for the introduction. So now the next speaker will speak at 9:35. Right, now we are saying product introduction, right? So again, who will be attending? All the participants who will be there in the meeting will be attending this particular thing. Who will do the product introduction? Obviously the product head will be responsible to do the product introduction. So in our case we have chosen Mr. Rahul Yadav as the product head, and he will take 15 minutes to introduce the product to all the participants. So now it started off at 9:35, 15 minutes, so now it's 9:50 a.m. Right, now we'll talk about the marketing plan. All participants will be there, right? Mrs. Anjali Sinha, the marketing head, will talk for 10 minutes about this particular thing. Then after 10 minutes, which is 10 o'clock, we'll discuss sales strategy. See now, if you say strategy, but if you don't know the spelling, please remember, right? I am purposefully doing this. If you don't remember the spelling, or if you don't know, or if you are doubtful about the spelling of strategy, or maybe any damn word which you use, but you're not confident about the spelling, try to avoid it. Because if you, maybe I could say sales plan, right? Instead of sales strategy, I could say sales plan. Now strategy is a, let's say, fancy word as compared to plan. But you're not getting that extra mark because of using the word strategy. But if you make an incorrect spelling, then there are high chances that your marks will be deducted. So the basic purpose is only use those words for which you are absolutely confident, right, about the spelling, right? I want thumbs up from each one of you in this particular thing, right, that you have understood this. Why? Because throughout the paper, right, you are supposed to write in English, right? And maybe in all the subjects you do that, but particularly in this particular paper, if you make spelling mistakes, you will be penalized for this, right? So quickly thumbs up, right? I will not use any words, right, of which I am not confident about the spelling. I have to be very careful about my spellings, the sentence construction, and the grammatical structure of the sentence, right? These three things are absolutely important, because if you are even writing right context, but if you're grammatically, if you are incorrect, or maybe if your sentence construction is incorrect, right, even though you are on the point, but still you lose marks, right? Again, who will attend this? All participants will take part in this. Maybe Mr. Bhavin Patel is our sales head. He'll talk about the sales strategy, right, for 10 minutes. So now it's 10:10. Now they will talk about product creative. See, it's very important, right? It's very important that all the participants, right? All the participants should get an opportunity, right, to talk about something, right? Otherwise, why at all they are there in the meeting, right? So whenever you're drafting the agenda and they have given you the participants, please try to involve all of them in the discussion. Now we'll talk about product creative. Again, all participants will be there, right? Miss Shweta Sharma is the creative director, right? She'll talk about it for 10 minutes. Then, see, again, these two things will always be there. Right? Please remember, these things will always be there. And the one at the top, introduction, open house, and vote for things. Now let us understand that what do we mean by open house. Basically, open house is that each one of the participant has got their slot and they have put their mind, they have put their thoughts and communicated what they wanted to communicate. Now, maybe there are certain areas in which you need to discuss, you need to debate, you need to deliberate, right? So the open house is for all the participants to speak, clear their doubts and have a discussion around the subject matter. So there will be an open house, right? All the participants will be there, and who will participate? All members or all participants, you could also write, and this will last for 10 minutes. This is basically if there are any doubts, if there is any concurrence required, right? If somebody has a better plan, right? If somebody wants to suggest some point of action, right? Then that could take place in the open house. And then finally, as a note of courtesy, there will be a vote of thanks. Who will do it? Again, the chairperson will do it. So the chairperson will start and the chairperson will end, right? What will he say? Basically, a vote of thanks is, I thank all of you for taking out your time and giving your valuable inputs, right? Your valuable inputs will be of much help and we'll take it forward and all good things, and the meeting will conclude. So this is how a tabular agenda will look like. Now, the second thing, again, if somebody has a question in relation to it, they can put it in the chat. I'll be very happy to address it, right? In the meanwhile, we know the agenda, and agenda now gives us a clear direction that who is supposed to speak in the meeting. Now we need to construct the minutes of the meeting, right? Now we need to construct the minutes of the meeting. Basically, these minutes of the meeting is the summary of what discussions took place in the actual meeting. Now see, when we draft the agenda, we get a picture as what discussion should take place in the meeting. There could be a question where we are not supposed to draft an agenda. We are just supposed to do the minutes of the meeting. Based on this topic, right? If I am supposed to draft the minutes of the meeting, right, what I would say that the product head would basically give the introduction of the product, what are the features of the product, right? How it is different from the competitor, right? What innovation it has put on table. Then basically the marketing person will come into play. He will say that this is the marketing strategy that has been designed, right? Various mode of, let's say, advertising would be used, etc. Then the salesperson will come in and he'll talk about how he has planned to sell the product in the market, what network of selling the product will be used, right? And then basically we have the creative director. So the creative director will talk about how the creatives will be designed, how they will look like, right? Whether they are going for some innovative creative designing and concepts, right? So these are the matters which will generally be discussed. Please remember that minutes of the meeting is basically not recording or maybe writing full length whatever took place in the meeting. The main essence of minutes of the meeting is that it's a brief summary, but by going through that summary, you get a full idea of what important matters took up in the meeting and what decisions were taken up in relation to those matters, right? So let's read this, right? We'll have a better perspective. Again, we'll first put the name of the company. We will say minutes of the meeting. right? Again, this date is the date of the meeting, the date on which the meeting took place. The venue, we had mentioned Oak Meeting Room in the agenda, or maybe through the Zoom meeting. What is the time of the meeting? The chairperson started off at 9:30, so this is the time at which the meeting started. Now, the next important information which will be there will be attendance. Who all attended the meeting, right? Who were the participants who were present while the meeting was on? So we have the chairperson who was there. We have the product head who was there. We have the sales head. And we have the creative director. It was, let's say, given in the question itself. So most of the question will provide this information. If the question does not provide this information, you will have to put your mind to work and think that who would constitute the right participant for a particular meeting based on the topic which is given to you in the exam. Now, as we know that first Mr. Nayak, who was the chairperson, was supposed to talk and introduce, right? So we'll say Mr. M. Nayak, the chairperson, gave an introduction speech explaining the agenda of the meeting. So generally the chairperson would say that today we have gathered to talk about the launch of the new product, right? These items will be covered. So basically he'll talk about the agenda so that everybody present knows that this is how the structure of the meeting has to go. They already know from the agenda, but it's a formality that you start off like that, right? Then the next slot was of our production head. So Mr. Rahul Yadav, who is our production head, what did he do? He introduced the new product, its features, how it is different from the competing products, and the estimated cost of production, because we wanted to talk about the cost as well. So he briefed about the estimated cost of production. You don't need to go into much detail. You just need to cover up the points, the important keywords which would have been covered in the meeting. How many sentences should be there in the answer? See, there is no limit as to how many sentences should be there. You should limit it in terms of time. Maybe it's a 5-mark question. You should take approximately, let's say, 7 to 8 minutes maximum to put this through, right? Not beyond that, right? Because then there will be counterproductivity. So maybe if I am to tell you, put it in a page, right? 1 page, or maybe let's say 15-20 lines. This is basically a great example, right? You could go a little short on this, but if you write this entire thing, right, it could work very well. Then, so the production head did his work. He introduced the new product. He talked about the features. He talked about how it is different from the competing product. What is the estimated cost of production? Now comes Mrs. Anjali Sinha, right? She is the marketing head. So what it says is Mrs. Sinha, marketing head tabled the marketing plan. So here, if you have good vocabulary, right, you can use good vocabulary to impress the reader, but not at the cost of, let's say, making, let's say, mistakes in the sentence construction or grammar. You could say that marketing, let's say, manager revealed the marketing plan, or the marketing manager discussed, or marketing head discussed the marketing plan. But this is a good vocabulary. That tabled the marketing plan means she put forward the marketing plan, or presented the marketing plan to the people who were present in the meeting. So Mrs. Anjali Sinha, the marketing head, tabled the marketing plan for the product. She mentioned that a mix of marketing media like print media, outdoor media and digital will be used. However, more emphasis will be made on digital marketing, taking services of influencers, right, having mass following. So again, if you are able to write these spellings correctly, and if you have good drafting capabilities, you could put this in place. So how she's basically, what mix is she planning to use, right, on which more emphasis will be on digital marketing, right? Nowadays there are a lot of influencers, right? Influencer marketing is one of the most, let's say, go-to area these days. So she talks about influencer marketing to introduce the product. Now comes our sales head, right? Mr. Bhavin Patel, sales head, discusses the sales plan. As per the plan, what is he trying to do? How is he trying to sell the product? Through a distributor-dealer model. So certain distributors will be appointed, and under the distributor there will be a lot of dealers who will sell the product, will be used to place the product in the market. The work of appointing distributor and dealer is in progress. So they have started identifying dealers, distributors. They have started talking to people in the market who are interested to, let's say, sell the product of the company. Then Miss Shweta Sharma, the creative director, presented the product packaging sample, right, and creatives for advertising purpose, right? So this, what will the creative director do? Obviously she'll put for the creatives which are there. Then finally, see, this is important, this will always be there, this should also be there. The chairperson declared the open house for the participant to put their concerns, right, and finally gave a vote of thanks. So you don't need to discuss what discussions were there in the open house. You simply need to say that the chairperson declared the open house so that people can put forth their concerns, and finally there was a vote of thanks. It was agreed that the sales head will submit the action taken report by 15th of September. So here the date of the meeting is 10th. So 15th, you should generally keep a gap of maximum 7 to 10 days, right? Please remember, keep a gap of maximum 7 to 10 days, right, for making your action taken report. Now also remember that this is how it practically happens. Who will prepare the ATR? Practically the junior most participant in the meeting, right, will prepare the ATR, because you cannot tell your senior, now you are supposed to prepare the action taken report, right? You will be in trouble. So generally the buck falls onto the junior most person, right? He will be caught and he will be supposed to prepare the action taken report. So this is how the minutes of the meeting would look like. If you have understood it well, quickly show thumbs up in the chat. If there is a question, you can ask it now. I'll be happy to answer it. Very quickly, if there is something in your mind, if there is something which you need to ask, and if you have understood it properly, and if you are feeling confident that this is achievable, I can do this, please put a thumbs up quickly. It makes me really happy to see these thumbs up. It talks about how confident you feel and how well you have understood things. Right, so quickly thumbs up should come in. Great. So now we'll talk about the action taken report. Right, see, the action taken report will basically flow from our minutes of the meeting. Maybe in the exam again we are just supposed to make the action taken report. Then in that case, you need to visualize that what discussion should have taken place in the meeting, right? What will you visualize? What discussions should have taken place in the meeting, and based on that, what action should have emanated, right? So what action was required to be done. So in this case, since we are running in correlation, we have done the agenda, we have done the minutes of the meeting. So drafting this ATR becomes very easy for us. Let's go through this. Again, the name of the company, what we are making the action taken report. This sentence you need to, by heart, you need to remember this, right? As per, and it's very simple, it says as per the meeting held on 10th 9/2000X1 at the Oak meeting room, or if you are doing a Zoom meeting, you could write Zoom as well, of HKU Private Limited, the following actions have been reported, right? So it says final computation of cost of production has been made. So in the minutes of the meeting, we said that the estimate was provided. So maybe after the estimate, they did a production run and they have finally arrived at the cost of production. Then quotations have been obtained from various vendors for print and outdoor marketing. So the marketing head was saying that a mix of marketing will be used to, let's say, launch the product in the market. So if a mix has to be used, you need to identify the vendors, you need to identify the advertising agencies who would do the marketing work for you, right? So in that case, it says that quotations were obtained from various vendors for print and outdoor marketing. Then the process for obtaining quotations from digital marketing agencies in progress, right? So if you say, okay, we have completed everything, then there will be no spice in the report. You will not be able to add more points. So we have bifurcated it into two parts very smartly. We have said that some part of the work has been done and some part of the work is to be done as yet. Then sales team has appointed distributors for the eastern and the southern region. The process of appointing distributors for the western and northern region is still in progress. The color scheme of the product packaging has been finalized. So see, in these type of scenario, right, there's no right or there is no wrong answer. Please remember this, right? Because it is your imagination. The meeting is taking place in your imagination, right? So you could say whatever you want to say, but it should not be way off. Maybe we're talking about launch of a new product and you talk about something else, maybe a Mars mission or maybe somebody going for a holiday will not work. If something is connected, right, and if somebody reads through it and is able to, let's say, link it with the topic, then it's a correct answer, right? Then finally, we'll say the person, the sales head was supposed to do it. So Bhavin Patel was the sales head, right? And the date on which this ATR has been submitted, right? The date on which the ATR has been submitted is mentioned. Right, so Nandini is saying, how do we know who is in the lowest position? See, you don't need to know who is in the lowest position, right? Because maybe the sales head is the functional head and he is at the same position as the marketing head and the product head. In practical life, right, how it works is that somebody at the junior most level will be supposed to do it. So in this case, we had to make a choice, right? So I thought that maybe I cannot tell the chairperson. Maybe I should not tell the product head and marketing head, so I took the sales head. You could also take the creative director, right? So the choice is open. In practical life, it works as if you have to have a junior person doing it. Generally, there could be if the meeting is very important, right? Then maybe the senior person would also be given the responsibility. So you can identify one person among the participants and make him responsible for doing the ATR report. Is it clear now? Right, so by this we have a very good view. By this we have a very good view of how do we do the agenda, how do we do the minutes of the meeting, and how do we do the action taken report. Now we have some more question. Harsh is saying, if there is no date mentioned in the question, then whether present or future date which is to be mentioned. Harsh, my question is, where in the minutes, where are you talking about this date, right? If you're talking about ATR, right? If you are saying the minutes of the meeting was held on 10th, if you're saying that the minutes, or rather if you're saying that the meeting took place on 10th of September, then maybe after 7 days, 10 days, you could put the date of the ATR, right? So if the date is not, if the date of the meeting is not given, you have to choose your own arbitrary date, right? So if say that the meeting took place, the question, in our question also, if you see, in our question also, the date of the meeting is nowhere there. If you look at this question, the date of the meeting is not there, right? But for the purpose of agenda, we decided the date. If we are not making the agenda, we could have straight away gone ahead and made the minutes of the meeting, and we could have selected a particular date. So maybe in all circumstances, most probably the date of the meeting or the date of the ATR will not be mentioned in the question. You have to choose an arbitrary date on your own, but please remember that the ATR report should be at least 7 to 10 days after the date of the meeting which took place, right? Next, it says, should we use black or blue pen, or we can use both? See, in the exam you are just supposed to use black ballpoint pen. So once you fill in your examination forms, right, in your admit card all the instructions will be there, right? Later on, near to your exam, right, I'll brief you on what to do and what not to do for your exams. But for the time being, I am telling you, you have to use a black pen in your exam, right? So let us move on. Now see, if you have gone through your worksheets, right, if you have gone through this worksheet, now I have divided the worksheet into 3 sections, right? We have covered it. It's a very impressive work in terms of, in this work note which we have shared with you, we have tried to cover the questions from past RTPs, from past mock test papers, and from the past exam papers as well. And I feel we have covered almost all till date, right? How we'll function on this now is that I have broken this up into 3 parts. We did a comprehensive illustration wherein we looked at the agenda, we looked at the minutes of the meeting, and we also looked at ATR. Now we look at them individually. We'll cover up 1 topic each, right? 1 agenda, 1 minutes of the meeting, and 1 ATR. And there's a lot of work for you to do, right? In this work note, the other questions, right, you need to fill it in, you need to write it on your own, you need to scan it and send it back to me so that I can check your answers and I can guide you in terms of what better you could do in terms of your presentation, in terms of choice of your words, maybe in choice of how you are writing it, are you going way off the topic or not. Those things, those feedback you will get from my side. Now, let us look at the agenda, right? So we'll say as a HR manager, what is HR? HR is human resource function in any organization. What is the work of this human resource? Human resource function is basically responsible for, let's say, recruitment of people related matters in terms of what should be the staff policy, right? What should be the compensation or salaries given to the staff? Then in terms of promotions, in terms of retirement. So all staff related issues is looked into by the human resource team, which is normally known as an HR team. As an HR manager, so you need to put yourself into the shoes of the HR manager, prepare the agenda for the upcoming meeting regarding staff matters, right? So now there is a meeting, listen to this very carefully. Now there is a meeting which is relating to the staff matters, right? So if we talk about staff matters in any organization, right, what could these staff matters be? First you need to know that, right, before you could draft an agenda for this. So the staff matters could be recruitment of new people. The staff matter could be, let's say, promotion of existing people. The staff matter could be transfer of people from one location to another. The staff matter could be increments. The staff matter could be, let's say, giving bonus. The staff matter could be the staff welfare facilities which are there in the organization, right? So now we have a comprehensive list of items which generally the HR team would deal with. Now based on this, we will have to draft the agenda. So let's have a look at it. Right, so Nandini is saying improvement of workplace, very good. So if there are more points which come into your mind, see, I have put in 1, but if there is something more, if you could contribute, see, because this this entire subject is a very open-ended subject, right? If we talk about minutes of the meeting, my perception of what discussions would have taken place in a meeting could be completely different from somebody else's perception of what discussion should have taken up in the meeting. Neither I am wrong nor that person is wrong unless the ideas are way off. So if you could tell me certain points which comes into your mind, as Nandini said, improvement in workplace. So Krishi is saying morale boost, very good. Making part-time employee full-time. So right. So all the matters which are related to people-related issues, right, will be dealt with by the HR team. Expulsion of staff. So Harsh wants to throw out somebody from the organization. So he's planning to make a strategy that I want to kick this person out. So we'll discuss this in the meeting as well. This could also be, maybe there's some misconduct, or maybe there's some inappropriate or unacceptable behavior. You could think about, let's say, making somebody resign from the organization. Right. So these type of matters would be dealt in. Let's have a look at it. So see, in this case, they haven't given us the name of the company, neither the date of the meeting is there, nor the venue of the meeting is there. So all is the figment of our imaginations, right? So we say the name of our company is ABC Private Limited, right? You could choose a name which suits you or whatever you feel appropriate. Then the date of the meeting, 10th September. Where are you taking this meeting? So the venue is Gandhi meeting room, or you could also do it over Zoom. Now, see, in this particular scenario, you have not been told the participants of the meeting, right? This is a tricky one, right? Because we know the format, we can very well put in the time. We discussed about the topics, right? What HR could discuss, right? In their meeting, we talked about the people-related topics. Then attendees. This is very important. You need to select this very carefully, right? Because who will be attending the HR-related meeting? Who will speak on what matters? And for duration is basically arbitrary. You could, based on your liking, disliking, you can allot time to people. Now, as per me, what I think is that if it's an HR related meeting, it is basically to do with people, right? And policies relating to the people or the employees of the organization. So, as per me, the senior most people in the organization should participate in this particular meeting. So, based on that, we have the CEO, right? We have the function head, right? What do we mean by function head? Head of production, head of sales, head of marketing, head of finance, right? The head of all the departments should be there. And obviously the HR manager is also there. Who is the speaker? First we will have startup. So we were discussing about how to make an agenda which is to be prepared by the HR manager of an organization, right, for the upcoming staff meeting. So we said that the name of the company is ABC Limited, and we are preparing the agenda for this. We talked about the date of the meeting, the venue of the meeting, right? So our meeting starts at 11 a.m., right? And there will be an introduction and a welcome note. You can say just introduction, or you could say both introduction and welcome note. Right, the attendees of this meeting, see, it's staff related matters which needs to be discussed. So there will be higher level people who will be there to attend this meeting and discuss on this, because they will be somebody who will be able to, let's say, form strategies and policies and take decisions on important matters. So we have the CEO, the functional head, and the HR manager who is there. The speaker here is Mr. Krishna Paul, who is the HR director, right? So basically this meeting has been called by the HR department. So somebody who is the senior most person in the HR department will basically, let's say, show an introduction and put an agenda explain the agenda to the audience, and basically this will take 5 minutes of time. Then after 5 minutes, which is 11:05 a.m., right, there will be certain matters which will be discussed. So now if we talk about staff related matters, right, the common things which would come into our mind is new appointments or new recruitments, and basically there will be promotions, there will be transfers, there will be increments, there will be bonus, right, staff related issues, staff welfare issues, etc. So we have to divide these in various slots and the discussions will take place. So here the first discussions will be on the new appointments which are supposed to be made, the transfer of employees maybe from one department to another or from one location to another location, and then training policy. So training policy, how and what training should be provided to the various employees of the organization. Who will be the attendee? The CEO will attend this. The head of functions, the HR director will be the attendee, and the speaker here will be Miss Pallavi Singh, who is the HR manager of the organization, and it will take her 25 minutes to brief and discuss about this particular matter. Then at 11:30, right, everybody might feel that they need to take a break, so there will be a tea break in there. And this tea break will last, let's say, for 15 minutes. So 11:30 plus 15, 11:45 a.m. the meeting will resume. Now in the next slot, we will discuss about the appraisals. What are appraisals? Basically, this is performance evaluations of the employees. Then we'll talk about promotions, and when we'll talk about bonus. So see, basically these are connected issues. Now, you do the appraisal, based on the appraisals, the promotions and the bonuses will be discussed. Here the function heads will be there, the HR director, manager is there, and Mr. David John, who is the CEO of the company, will discuss about this particular matter, that what should be the appraisal strategy, what should be the promotion strategy, how much bonus should be given to which employees, etc. Then after 20 minutes, which is 12:05 p.m., there's staff transportation and cafeteria renovation issue which will be taken up. So these are basically staff welfare initiatives of the organization. Here the CEO, the functional head, the HR director and the HR manager will be there, and Miss Deepika Bhatia, who is the admin head, because these things would normally come under the purview of the administrative department of the organization. It will be discussed for 10 minutes. Now at 12:15, see, these two things will mandatorily be there. I have already discussed. So at 12:15, there will be an open house where all the participants will have 10 minutes to show their concerns, debate, discuss, put in their, let's say, suggestions, etc. And then finally, at 12:25 p.m. there will be a vote of thanks to all participants. The CEO is doing the vote of thanks, or maybe you could also have the HR director to do this, but in this meeting we will have Mr. John as the chairperson, because he is the senior most person, so he is doing the vote of thanks. So this is how the agenda for this particular subject will be drafted. Is everybody absolutely clear about this, and do you feel confident in terms of drafting agenda? See, it's very simple, because if you look at the columns, right, time is of your choice, right? आपके हिसाब से जो time है वो रखना है. Then the duration, how much you will allow whom to speak, again is of your choice, right? The naming ceremony will also be performed by you. Whatever name you like, you can associate it to a particular designation, right? So basically this and this is very, very arbitrary, and there is no point of going wrong on this. What attendees will also be more or less like, you would logically know who would attend. You cannot say that this person is not eligible to attend the meeting. The only thing which you have to be careful about the topic. Please make the topic relevant to the let's say, the requirements of the question. If you are able to do only that, then this particular thing can be done very easily, and these are free marks. You could easily do this agenda in 5 minutes maximum if you have done, let's say, reasonable practice. Is everybody clear about the agenda thing? Thumbs up so that we could move on to the next part very quickly. Right? I need to see your thumbs flowing in. Great. Now, see, as we move ahead, I have given certain practice topics to you, right? I just take you through this. We just have a brief 2 minutes discussion, and then you are supposed to solve this, make the agenda, and let's say scan it and send it back to me. As an employee of a CA firm, prepare agenda for the upcoming partner's visit. So maybe the partner is from some other location, right? He is visiting to your location. So you need to make an agenda in tabular format. Include senior executives in the meeting, discussing the agenda for the meeting and how one-day visit of the partner need to be planned, right? So this was part of the RTP for November 2019. All these are very important topics because there are circumstances in which we see that topics from older MTPs, RTPs are put forth in the main exam paper. So I want feedback from you people very quickly. We'll just spend 2 minutes on this. Give me the ideas. What things you would include in this particular area, right? Maybe you will have to select couple of speakers who will be there, right? You need to talk about the topics. Quickly put in pointers in the chat in terms of what main topics would you include in this meeting. What is happening here that a senior partner is coming to your location is maybe a branch office, right? So the senior partner is, let's say, coming to the branch office and he has a whole day meeting with the people in the particular location. So what things will be discussed when he comes there, right? Quickly put in your feedback so that I get to know that how much are you able to relate to this topic, guys. Start putting in your pointers. Maybe you don't need to think about, let's say, 5 points together and put it in, right? Arranging for picking him up. Boss, this cannot be the agenda of the meeting. This is prior to the meeting, na? Right? From the airport, he'll come to the office, right? That's an admin work. But that will not be discussed in the meeting. See, the entire purpose of agenda is the matters which will be discussed in the meeting, right? And this meeting is not about, listen to this very carefully because I think you have got the topic wrong. This is basically the agenda for the meeting which will take place when the partner is present in the office, and in his presence what all things will be discussed is what you need to draft in, right? So picking him up is something else. Decoration, cleaning, proper sanitary. Again, Harsh, you are not getting it right. We are not talking about what you need to prepare for welcoming him to the office. This is an agenda about when he is there physically, right, attending the meeting, what things should be discussed. Okay, so we are seeing efficiency of the office, progress of the firm, current status of the firm, how to grow the firm and reach more consumers or clients rather, because you don't have consumers in case of a firm. Discuss performance of the workers, management. So see, first of all, it is very important to understand the topic well, because as I read about it and then asked for your points, you people started pointing in matters which were before the meeting. But here the main topic is that when the partner is here at your office location, what should be discussed. So sales analysis, accounting process. Okay, see how this should generally flow is that the partner is coming to your location, right? And he wants to hold meeting with various people in your particular location. So how this meeting could be, let's say, structured is, let's say the partner will come in. In the meeting, basically the partner will be the chairperson and he will, let's say that the purpose of this meeting is this and this. What are the important areas that could be covered? First, we could talk about the various new clients which has been onboarded by the company. What are the prospective clients, right, or the prospective companies to which the the CA firm could pitch and get more work from there. It could be about, let's say, promotions of people. It could be about new recruitment to meet the manpower requirement. It could be about, let's say, rearranging various departments in the office, right? And then the partner would generally want to talk with everybody and get to know. Maybe there could be an open house, right, where they want to talk about various points which is concerning various people in the office, right? So these type of matters will be discussed here. What I would suggest is that you draft the agenda as per your thought process, right? What I will do is I'll send an inductive thing, drafting it myself as well. I will read yours and you will read the thing which I have made. This will give you more clarity in terms of how this needs to be done. Let's move on with the next topic. It says as an employee of a medical firm, prepare agenda of the meeting discussing the pros and cons, means benefits and basically hazards of new vaccine for COVID-19 and discuss how it is going to affect your company's sale. Use tabular format and include senior executives in the meeting. See, this thing could be hot favorite nowadays because a lot of things have got affected by COVID-19 and there could be some topics coming in where you need to relate it to COVID-19 and discuss it in the exam. So again, this is from your very recent RTP of May 21 term. Again, you need to draft this on your own, right? You think about the points, means the new vaccine is there and then how it could, you are a medical firm, right? How, let's say if I am a medical, I'll give you an example. I am a medical firm who is, let's say, manufacturing Remdesivir or maybe Fabiflu. These are common medicines which were used for, let's say, treating patients who were infected with COVID. Now with a high level of vaccination being done, obviously if the vaccine is effective, the demand for these medicines will go down. Again, if there is a wave and let's say if the vaccine is ineffective against the wave, then again the demand for these medicines will increase. And if the vaccination proves to be effective, the demand for these medicines will go down slowly. So keeping these things in mind, you should draft points which would form part of the agenda. Is it clear to all? Right? So please do it as a practice. Again, we have as an employee of an academic institution, prepare an agenda for upcoming partner visit in tabular form. Right? It's similar to the partner visit of a firm. So if you are from an academic institute, right, what matters would you take up? You will have to put in here. So do it on your own. Now let's come to the next part, which is illustrations on minutes. Right? If there is a question on drafting only the minutes, how would you go about it? It says your company is launching a new product in the next year. Prepare minutes of the meeting for the same. Members are head of sales, marketing, product and concerned team members. So it's similar to the combo illustration which we had done. This is from RTP May 20. So we have put in the name of the company. We are saying minutes of the meeting, date of the meeting. We have chosen Taj Mahal meeting room, or it could be Zoom. The meeting starts at 9:30. Right? We'll quickly go through it. In attendance, there the chairperson is there, product health, sales and marketing head is there, team members of concerned department, because it says in the topic that concerned team members are there. So maybe not only the sales head and the marketing or production head is there, there are other members in the sales, marketing, production team which are also present in the meeting. Now, Mrs. Sunita Nanda, who is the chairperson, gave an introduction speech explaining the agenda. So this is a static line which will always be there in all minutes of the meeting. Then Mr. Nigam Kumar is the product head. It demonstrated the prototype of the new product. Prototype is basically the model of the new product. Explain the utility and the target customers. Existing variants in the market, means what are the competitors, versus variant to be introduced by the company in 6 months time. So it will take 6 months to introduce this particular product. Then Rohan Sarkar, who is the head sales and marketing, and other sales team members also contributed, discussed about the marketing strategy for the product launch, discussed media advertising for product promotion, presented the estimated demand and the sales figure for the first quarter, initial 3 months after the launch, discussed the feedback received from the sample customers. So you made certain samples and you distributed among your customers to take their feedback. And finally, the chairperson declared the open house for the participants to put in their concern, and finally gave a vote of thank. It was agreed that the sales executive will submit the action taken report by 15th of September X1. So by this you could get an idea that it's very simple to draft minutes of the meeting, just that whatever content, right, please remember, whatever content you put into the minutes of the meeting should correlate, right, with the topic which has been given in the question, right? If it correlates, your work is done. Now, you would see that there are a lot of topics which are there on which you have to draft the minutes of the meeting. I'll send you an inductive draft from my side, but before that, I need to receive a draft from you as how well you are able to draft the minutes of the meeting. Finally, we'll come to the illustration of action taken report. Let's read the topic. It says submit an action taken report based on a meeting held to be discussed, to discuss the failure of long pending dues by an old customer. Mention clearly what decision was taken. So see, in this case, what we need to do, we need to make the action taken report of what, of a meeting which took place, right? What was the meeting about? Discuss the failure of long pending dues by an old client. So there is an old customer who is not paying his money, right? Mention clearly what decision was taken up. So we'll mention the name of the company. We'll say this is the ATR. We'll say as per meeting held on this date at Nelson Meeting Room of ABC Private Limited, which is the name of our company, the following actions have been reported. So basically there was a meeting about a customer who is not paying, right? So what should be the discussion in that meeting? Basically you would discuss about trying to recover money from that customer, right? You would want to send somebody, some senior people from your organization to meet that customer, right, and convince him to pay, try to address the problems or the issues that customer is facing. If it cannot be solved by discussion, right, you serve a legal notice on that customer that you pay within a certain period of time. Otherwise, we'll initiate legal actions against you. And maybe if that person does not pay, after that file a legal suit against that person and pursue that claim legally. So based on this background, we have drafted the ATR. It says the sales head visited the client on 11th, because the meeting took place on 10th. So immediately on the next day, on 11th September, the sales head went to discuss the matter. A notice of final, let's say, reminder providing 15 days time to clear the dues was sent on 12th. So again on the next day a notice was sent that 15 days from today, if you don't make a payment, right, we'll take legal actions against you. The matter has been discussed with the company's legal counsel, means the legal team, for further action. If payment is not received within 15 days from the date of the notice, right? Sagar Prasad is the sales head who has made it, and he has made it on 17th of September, right? So this is how the ATR of this particular thing would look like, right? So by this we have very comprehensively covered this topic. We talked about the agenda of the meeting, we talked about the minutes of the meeting, and we talked about ATR as well. I have basically very systematically organized this particular document, where at the introduction pages you get to see that what are the requirements from this chapter and what are the various formats which you need to keep in mind. And there are enough comprehensive illustrations, one illustration making agenda as well as let's say the minutes of the meeting and the ATR report, and then there are separate illustrations which are there on agenda, minutes of the meeting and action taken report, right? So by this we come to the end of this topic, right? I hope all of you have understood it well. Please show a thumbs up in the chat if you are confident about this topic. Now one thing which I would require you to do is, please take out, let's say, some time today, go through the entire thing which we have discussed, and please draft at least, let's say, 2 agenda, 2 to 3 minutes of the meeting. There's no more ATR which we found from the past papers or RTPs or MTPs, right? You could do it on any of the topic immediately after doing the minutes of the meeting. Say that I want to draft the ATR for this as well, and you do the ATR on this topic as well, right? So one promise which I want from all of you is that you will revise this today itself, and you will also write the agenda and the minutes of the meeting and the ATR, right? And once you are done with all the things which are there, means in terms of whatever agendas, minutes you have to draft, right? Please submit it for my feedback. Please scan it properly and send it to me so that I can get a heads up in terms of what are your writing skill and what are the areas of your improvement, right? So by this we come to the end of this session. Tomorrow we'll meet at the same time. You will get a message maybe on the chat or maybe on the WhatsApp, and we'll do another topic tomorrow. So have a great evening, guys. Study well, and I'll see you tomorrow. If there's any question which you need to ask, I'm very happy to address. Please put it on the chat so that I can answer your question.